We're ready.
Ready? Testing. Live? No.
You can go.
Okay. Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Sara Nyberg, and I'm active in a Swedish youth NGO, Push Sweden, and I will moderate this session today. I have a background in energy and environmental engineering, and I have been following the negotiations on technology and also been participating in the meetings of the CTCN Advisory Board and the TEC since 2019. And I also started the working group of Yango within Technology Mechanism in 2019 and have been active in that since then. So I'm just going to go through the agenda of today so that you know what to expect. So first we'll hear opening remarks from Eluar, one of the 2 junior consultants at the CTCN. Then we'll have an icebreaker. After that we'll hear an introduction to the CTCN, so the Climate Technology Center and Network, by Karina, who is working at the Climate Technology Center. After that, Cathy will present Yango's engagement in the CTCN. After that, we'll hear from Maria and Eluar about the CTCN Youth Exchange or Knowledge Exchange Program, so what they are doing and some results they've found so far. After that, we have a presentation of a tool which determines the technology priorities cited in countries' NDCs and technology needs assessments by 2 students, Larsen and Bhavesh. And finally, you will learn about the Climate Innovation Lab from Tariq and his experience from that program. And we'll end with a Q&A for your questions, which probably will rise up. And yeah, that's what we will do during this hour. So yeah, we will start with some opening remarks from Eluar, please.
Yes, good day, ladies and gentlemen. Please do join us. Don't be shy back there. You can come to our event. It's a real pleasure to be here with you at the UNFCCC Pavilion. And I would like to express our gratitude first and foremost to the RMP team for creating this beautiful pavilion and also for hosting us here today. So the theme of today at the COP is youth and public empowerment. And I would like to share a little personal story to begin with. So out of all the days that I've been coming to this venue today, I feel like today was the most moving for me, seeing so many young but also old people outside the venue passionately raising their voices. And there was in particular a young group of indigenous people singing in front of the venue. And that just made me reflect on what they're really expressing to kind of make us overcome our self-destructive path in the climate crisis and to really act with determination in climate action. So that was for me a very touching and emotional moment. It was inspirational because these young people were really raising their voices. And with this event, we want to bring a few of these examples that are inspirational from the field of youth engagement and climate technology. So we're very happy to have you here. Yes, and I'm happy to pass on the word back to Sara.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we will have an icebreaker, and you see the question on the screen here. So what comes to mind when you think of youth engagement and climate technology? And first of all, we would like to hear from you in the audience, one word, what you come to think about. So you can just like shout it out, and I will repeat it in the microphone for the listeners from the live stream to hear. So yeah, any suggestions? What comes to mind when you think of youth engagement and climate technology? Or I see we have someone prepared with a microphone there, if you want to say it in the microphone.
Blue sky thinking, 2 words.
What do you say?
Blue sky thinking.
Blue sky thinking. Mm.
Out of the box.
Out of the box.
Context.
Context.
Yes.
The role of science education in schools.
DeVos. Involving, yeah, science technology in schools. Change.
Women in STEM.
Women in STEM. Yeah, great. Thank you. Nice to hear your words. We also asked the panelists, the people who will talk today at the event, about what they thought and a small motivation to why they thought of their word or why they chose that word. So yeah, I can pass on my mic to. Do you want to start?
Thank you so much. So I chose the word context because everyone involved in this process has their own experiences, and they can bring their own contexts, and they can add to a collective context.
I will say like the word creativity, because youth have all of the new ideas and new approaches to do something, creations and creativity.
For me, I think of the future. So with kind of like what Tariq said, we bring a lot of different perspectives as youths, and we're also part of the future, and we're going to be the ones bearing the brunt of climate change. So therefore, we need to be part of engaging with and encouraging solutions.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess something, also relevant, of course, is seat. That came into mind, of course. Like Secretary General Guterres said to us, Youngo, last weekend, that it is very important for youth to be included in decision-making process, to have a real seat at the table. So yeah, that's the word that came into mind right now, and also very close to the topic of COP26. Anyone else? Yuri?
Perhaps I can go. For me, it's diversity. I think escalating climate technologies is a matter of cross-cutting issues, including gender perspectives, indigenous peoples, and of course, youth voices.
For me, it's optimism. Many of you might know the podcast by Christiana Figueres and Tom Rivet-Karnak, Outrage and Optimism. And I've been very much on the outrage side for the past, years, I would say. But with this Youth Knowledge Exchange program and doing the research and really working more in youth engagement, I've definitely moved a bit more towards the optimism side.
Thank you. And we have one more panelist who will actually have a presentation just now. So I will give my microphone to Karina to say her word, motivation, and also to give an introduction to the CTCN, so the Climate Technology Center and Network. So please, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Sara. So it's great to see all of you here, and thank you for coming. My name is Karina Larsen, and I'm heading the Global Operations and Knowledge for the Climate Technology Center. How many of you have heard of CTCN before? A few of you, okay. So the CTCN is considered part of the technology mechanism. So you may have heard the finance mechanism is the Green Climate Fund and where all the big money is. Technology mechanism was created during the COP out of a need from developing countries for access to more technologies related to climate change and for knowledge. And so we provide various services, technical assistance at the request of countries, coming from the local level, NGOs, private sector, all the way up to the national level. We also provide capacity building and knowledge services, and these are across a full array of adaptation and mitigation services. So everything from disaster preparedness to energy projects and sort of everything in between. And we've served over 100 countries since we've been around. We started almost 9 years ago. And really see the need for these kinds of services only increasing as countries are developing and updating their NDCs, and the ambition is growing. But one thing that we know is that technology will play a crucial role in meeting the goals of the Paris Agreement, but technology alone is not necessarily the only answer. It has to be good technology that serves the needs of the people that it's intended to. And so technology as a tool is really only ever as good as the intentions behind it, the design, the thinking, and the development, and then the way that it's deployed. And so we know from countless research that, for example, the more diverse a group is, the better decisions that they're going to make, and the more innovative ones. And so with this in mind, and really trying to make sure that technology serves the right needs and the right, all of the groups that are intended, we've really tried to seek out partnerships and guidance from a wide array of groups. And so some years ago, we began speaking with younger members, and Sara was among the first, and talking about ways that we could collaborate together. And we eventually built a collaboration plan. And as part of that was the Youth Knowledge Exchange Program, and Maria and Eluar are the very first to participate in that program. We also developed youth climate innovation labs and academies. Those were launched last year in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Latin American one is finishing actually just this week. But that brought together young people, and they learned a lot of innovation tools like design thinking, and received really intensive mentoring, and co-created climate change solutions. And we'll have a bit more detail on that later on in the event today. So I just wanted to say that for us, I feel like we get just as much out of all the engagement that we do with youth, because my word, actually I had two, but one was ideas, because I feel like from all the work that we've done together with Youngo, we come away with so many great ideas and so much good input. And then I'm going to cheat and say another one, and that was collaboration, because that is really the key. So I really want to thank Youngo for the involvement that they've had, and really look forward to building our work together. But also hope that all of you will join in the conversation and give us input on how we can serve better in terms of technology and making it accessible to as many people as possible. So with that, I'll hand it back over.
Thank you very much, Karina. And yeah, exactly. So you mentioned it that we in Youngo, so the youth NGOs, youth constituency to the UNFCCC, have collaborated for at least 2 years with the CTCN, and a lot of cred and kudos to Karina, who has helped us and been very open to engage with us. So we're very thankful for that. But now, you might want to hear more about this, how we in Youngo have engaged with the CTCN. So for that, I invite Cathy up to the stage, one of the two current contact points to the Technology Mechanism Working Group in Youngo. So I see you have a microphone already. Please, the stage is yours.
Great, and thanks, Sara, for the introduction. I almost forgot it. I'm one of the two contact points. But yes, so a brief introduction of myself before we go into more details about, what is Youngo, as some of you may not know, and what is, Technology Mechanism Working Group, and also, what is our role, and also what collaborations we have done. So first, a brief intro of myself. I'm Cathy, one of the 26 ambassadors of COP26 appointed by the UK. And also, of course, follow the technology mechanism meetings and some negotiations. Besides technology, I also follow finance, capacity building, and a few other areas. And I mainly represent Youngo, which is the youth constituency, WGC, the women and gender constituency, and a few other constituencies. And there's quite some roles, and I guess probably a few others would be that I also advise the CEO of Global Center Adaptation and the management team of IKEA's parent company, and you see IKEA's products here, which is a bit interesting. And by profession, I work in private finance, and I see our director roles is also here as well. But yes, so that's a brief intro of myself, and probably another introduction about the Technology Mechanism Working Group. So Sara and another colleague, Beatrice, they found this working group back in 2018, and now it's been, I guess, the third year.
Second or third year,
Yeah, that's really impressive, and I think, we get confused with the years, and I still see many negotiators saying that CTCN has been existing for 8 years, so if it's founded in 2012, then this should be the 9th year, right? But yes. So basically, YOUNGO is the youth constituency of UNFCCC, which means it's not an organization, and it's not. It's more of a stakeholder group. So to deliver the voice of youth in UNFCCC processes, including technology. And more specifically about the technology mechanism working group, I believe we have about 100 members. And of course, our role is to follow all the meetings of the CTCN and the Technology Executive Committee, the policy arm, which is another part of the technology mechanism. And so I guess besides following meetings, we also have many collaborations. And as mentioned by Karina, for example, the Youth Innovation Labs that Eluar also contributed a lot, and also our Youth Knowledge Exchange Program, which are these two amazing young people working as consultants at the CTCN, and really hope that to see you there for forever. But yeah, so the program is 4 months long, but hopefully we'll see you or other more talented consultants maybe next year. So yeah, I think it's really important, and also really very pleased to see that that there are talented young people within the secretariat of the CTCN contributing so much and helping throwing this events together, which is really awesome, and also really helps us as well to get a better understanding and also a stronger connection with the work of the CTCN. So really amazing job to these two. And also I guess another one would be so those are our collaborations with the CTCN, and specifically about our collaborations with the Technology Executive Committee. So luckily, it is a very inclusive committee, probably one of the most inclusive, because constituencies, observers are participating in their task forces, basically the main part of their work. So for example, myself is a member of the task force on support, which is the one focusing on financial mechanism. And there's and also a new ad hoc task force on global stocktake, although I'm not an expert on global stocktake. But there are also task force that, for example, Sara participated in the one on capacity building, which is another very key area of the UNFCCC, and there's one on innovation, implementation, and stakeholder engagement, so I got them all. And there's also a new joint task force with the CTCN, in which there is a side event last night, which I assume some of you were there, and there's this really amazing publication on NDCs were launched there. So these are, so this is a brief intro of YOUNGO, and also the working group, and also how we collaborate with the technology mechanism. And of course, besides, so we follow meetings, and then we participate in task forces, and we have the program, and we contribute to the Youth Innovation Labs, 3 of them, and also at the same time we collaborate in events like this one. So, and on tomorrow at 3 to 3:30 we will have another one. Location is, I forgot, but yes, Action Room 2, awesome. So yeah, so we'll have a panel with, that will be a joint event with YOUNGO, CTCN, and the tech. So definitely do join us if you happen to be free. So yeah, that's pretty much everything from my side. So I'll pass the floor back to Sara.
Yeah, thank you very much. And of course, we in the YOUNGO Technology Mechanism Working Groups are also here at the COP and follow the negotiations on the technology items. So there are several items this and next week on technology development and transfer. So we observe those and see what's happening to follow that as well. Thank you very much, Cathy, for that information. So yeah, we go to the next point. So I will have Maria and then Eluar, who will talk about their involvement in the Youth Knowledge Exchange Program. And and you can also present yourself when you start. So yeah, do you want to have this clicker or?
Great, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
So hi everyone, thank you so much for being here. My name is Maria Aguilar. I'm the Youth Consultant for Gender of the Youth Knowledge Exchange Program. And as Karina and Cathy and Sara already mentioned, this is the result of very hard work trying to enhance and engage youth participation within climate technologies. So they have 2 consultants. One is focused on youth engagement, and myself, gender. So basically, we know that climate change is not gender neutral. It has disproportionate effects on women, girls, gender non-conforming people. So the CTCN responds to that and respects the mandate of the UNFCCC and the Gender Action Plan. In this response, it created its own gender action plan from 2019 to 2022. And I'm here basically to support the CTCN in their mainstreaming efforts for the implementation of their action plan. So I'm focusing right now on three main objectives. The first one is the development of a gender expert roster. So this expert roster has two main key areas. The first one is female expertise in climate change, and the second one is just gender-focused expertise in climate change. We conducted an analysis reviewing similar initiatives. We found almost 50 similar initiatives, but none of these are solely based on female expertise in climate change and gender expertise. So there is a huge potential to create this database. We already started with it. It's important to mention that this is a joint effort with the tech mechanism, and we are hoping to have this database ready next year. So the point of this is to engage female expertise and leadership for technical assistance, but as well for the tech mechanism. The second part is the assessment framework to review the CTCN work on gender mainstreaming. So we are developing a framework to conduct a systematic analysis on the CTCN technical assistance cases, which are starting from the creation of the CTCN in 2014. We'll be reviewing 150 cases approximately, and this will be crucial to review and kind of understand how is the CTCN doing with its gender mainstreaming implementation plans and how to improve these actions. So this will be very important to help the CTCN with their main objectives. And the final one, but not less important, is the Climate Gender Just Solutions. This is a joint effort with the Women Gender Constituency and the Women Engaged for the Common Future. And I want to take the opportunity to invite you all on Monday the 8th. The Clyde Auditorium will be having the awards for the new awardees, which are grassroots organizations that focus on gender mainstreaming, but as well in climate action and new climate technologies. So it's very important because it highlights the work of these organizations and help them through mentoring and support. So I invite you all to join us. And this is from my side. I'll pass the word to Eluar now. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. I think I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Eluar. I'm the second youth consultant within the Youth Knowledge Exchange program at the CTCN. And I want to once again just underline and say thank you and express our gratitude to the tech working group of Yango and to the CTCN and Karina for their leadership role to really, include youth into their activities. And that's what we're trying to increase with our work here. So I'd like to take you a little bit on a short story of the work that I've been doing in youth engagement. It's basically a very research-intense but also outreach work. And the basic idea is to take a step back and to try to capture the current status of activities of youth engagement within climate technology. So we've been looking all around the world, what are youth-led organizations doing in the field of climate change? And on the one hand, it's just to take that snapshot and see, okay, what's happening? But on the other, it's also to try and identify some barriers that exist when youth is trying to be active in climate technology or any other lessons that we could identify from doing this research. And I will start with the barriers and then move on to the positive side of things. And I would categorize these barriers into three parts. So on the one hand, we have institutional barriers, we have financial barriers that youth face, but also a lot of capacity building challenges that we need to look into. On the side of the institutional barriers, there is no denying that there's still a lot of tokenism going on in the field of youth engagement. So there is still this strong perception of youth to be seen as a rather vulnerable group instead of really recognizing youth as a capable and capable change makers that can actually implement projects. We also identified from the institutional perspective that there's still in many countries a lot of bureaucracy challenges that youth face, especially when they try to found or start organizations. So there are a lot of requirements that they need to be able to overcome from government's demands, which makes it difficult for them to actually start their own organization, and hinders the development of some very interesting projects that they have in mind. I think the financial perspective is not very surprising. It's still a very big challenge for youth to obtain funding for their projects, and I think from what we've seen so far, there are two reasons for that. Number one, as we talked about the perception of youth, they're still not really recognized as change makers that are on eye level with a lot of different organizations to really implement interesting projects. And on the other hand, it's also linked to the third category. There's still a lot of challenges when it comes to capacity building in terms of organizational development. So the lack of funding obviously makes it difficult for youth to stay in organizations for longer time. There's a high turnover because they're volunteering. So these are definitely one of the areas that needs to develop more to really mainstream youth engagement in climate technology more and more in the future. So these were some of the barriers, but as I said before, I'm turning more and more into a real optimist after being outraged for so long, which I still am, by the way. But until now, we found over 100 youth-led organizations around the world on climate action and climate change. But I want to highlight 48 that have a really strong focus on climate technology. And they span across the 5 themes of the technology mechanism, which is on support, on capacity building, on stakeholder engagement, on innovation, and on implementation. And here on the right, this soup of words just represents the kind of areas that these organizations are working in. Most of them are in the field of renewable energy. Most of the organizations that we identified are in Asia Pacific and in Africa. And there are some really interesting youth organizations out there that really deserve to be seen, that deserve to be connected to other partners and stakeholders in order to advance their amazing work that they're doing. And if I would have to summarize all of this, I would say that this snapshot really speaks a very clear language, and it's that youth is seriously taking a leadership role here by providing and putting on the table concrete and pragmatic solutions that have a real impact in their community. After this research, I can honestly say there's interesting things going on there. And the next steps that we want to take in the Youth Knowledge Exchange program is to give these organizations more visibility and a platform so that they can, benefit from this matchmaking power that the CTCN has to be connected to other partners around the world. And another part is obviously to dig deeper and to come up with recommendations for the future so that the Youth Knowledge Exchange program can grow. And I personally would love to see this to be a sort of a, lighthouse project that the CTCN is really taking the lead here, where other organizations can look up to that and replicate that in the near future. And with this, my time ends, and I'm happy to pass on the word to Sara.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so this is the first time that we have this 2 junior consultants as part of the junior knowledge exchange program. And yeah, we really hope, I mean, it's gone really good so far and we have really good results so far. So we really hope that we can continue with this, but it's up for discussion. But yeah, we think it's great so far. And yeah, we really hope we can continue next year with a new batch of young, talented people. Yeah, so moving forward, the next topic, now we'll go over to a presentation by two students from the University of Michigan, so Lauren and Bhavesh, and they will present a tool which about determining technologies cited in countries' NDCs and technology needs assessments. So I will give the word to you exactly. So you have a microphone there.
Thanks, Sarah.
You can
Hi.
take that microphone. Yeah, I'm just wondering, I think it might be better if you stand, or you in the audience, do you see the slide if he's sitting in there, or should one sit on the other side? I was still thinking, yeah, otherwise, I mean, yeah, I will stand to the side. No,
I can stand there.
okay, yeah. Or I think you should be able to see most of the screen. Okay. It's working, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I give the word to you. The stage is yours.
Thanks, Sarah. I just want to first start off by saying a big thank you to the CTCN for having us here today and Youngo. We are really grateful to have a platform to speak about our project and to be involved on the Youth Engagement Day. Additionally, me and my team are from the University of Michigan School for Environment and Sustainability. So we've been working as network members with the CTCN over the last 10 months to develop to analyze countries' technology needs, climate technology needs, and prioritize them using the NDCs and TNAs for SIDS and LDCs. To start off our presentation, Bhavesh is going to walk you through our methodologies that we've developed and talk about the application that we created in order to visualize the climate technologies as a network.
Thank you so much, Lauren. So we started off with reading the NDCs and TNAs for SIDS, LDCs, and African countries. And we use this data with the CTCN's technology taxonomy to filter out any undefined technologies. When I say undefined technologies, I mean technologies that are either too high level or they are too specific, so that they don't match the CTCN's taxonomy. Once we had the collected data, we basically did some data cleansing, and we used this data as an input to our application, which I'll talk about next. The application, in short, helps us visualize climate technologies as a network. So we can see a cluster of technologies as a network and interact with that tool. And we can also access the underlying data. So here's an example of how the application makes the connections. So we see here on the left we have Kiribati's raw data, and on the right we have the resulting technology network. So the order of the technologies in the raw data is represented in the network diagram. And as a user, if I'm interested in off-grid systems, I can select that, and the application would highlight the associated technologies with that technology. And that happens because off-grid systems is mentioned directly with biodiesel and solar PV, as we can see here. So the main thing that's important in the application is the order of the data. So for example, if I bring in my own data and it's ordered based on a different context, so it can be based on conditionality of a technology or acceptance of a technology in a bunch of countries, and I feed that to the application, the application will then represent the new data under that different context. So here we have a more realistic example. This map shows us the technologies that are mentioned for all LDCs. And as a user, I'm interested in solar PV, so I select solar PV to see what technologies are mentioned with solar PV for all LDCs. And the application will highlight all those technologies for us. And on the right, we also have the data from the application, which tells us the number of mentions for top technologies and the top innovator technologies as well. So in short, I would like to reiterate that the order of the data is what matters the most. And in the future iterations of this application, this can be made as a service. So a country or NGO or organization can come in with their own data that they already pre-sorted and feed that to the application and use the application to visualize their information and get better context out of it.
So as Bhavesh showed, he did the LDC visualization. I'm going to do a regional visualization focusing on Southeast Asia. So here we show an analysis of Southeast Asia, and we're using the 6th IPCC report to highlight some of the vulnerabilities that Southeast Asian countries face. So the 6th IPCC report showed with medium confidence in the long term that South and Southeast Asian monsoon and East Asian monsoon precipitation levels will increase. In high confidence, regional mean sea levels will continue to rise. And then compounding impacts of climate change, land subsidence, and local human activities will lead to higher flood levels and prolonged inundation in the Mekong Delta. As an example of Southeast Asian countries, as we analyzed, we decided to visualize Cambodia, Laos, and Malaysia, as we just handpicked a few out of Southeast Asia. Our application visualizes the network connections for these 3 countries and shows that groundwater extraction and monitoring technology needs were mentioned in all NDCs. With additionally, we had additional requests for integrated water resource management, flood forecasting systems, and a few more technologies as well. There's also already been at least 25 technology requests, assistance requests, made by Southeast Asian countries to the CTCN. So our analysis shows an increase in technology assistance requests from NDCs regarding issues in the issues highlighted in the 6th IPCC report. Additionally, I can also give another example briefly of a regional analysis that we did on the Caribbean countries. It's not pictured here. The IPCC report revealed that Caribbean countries most are classified as small island developing states, and they're going to be experiencing a decline in rainfall, an increase in evapotranspiration, and more unpredictable extreme weather. Countries like Haiti, Barbados, Dominican Republic, Jamaica are just some of a few examples of Caribbean countries that, given their IPCC report findings, request water efficiency technologies and water augmentation technologies such as water capture and storage, water recycling and reclamation, and improved irrigation efficiency. Additionally, on Tuesday, the Barbados Minister of Environment did mention that a 2 degrees Celsius increase would really harm all small island developing nations, especially their coastal communities. So this kind of places an emphasis on why we chose to prioritize, why these countries chose to prioritize these particular technologies. And then in summation, we created this app as a way to see how climate technology, countries are prioritizing climate technologies and how that these are all related. And now we're going to pass it back to Sara.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, and thank you for the microphone. Yeah, I can take the clicker as well. Yeah, really interesting to hear about the project, and I really hope that they will be used a lot in the future. And yeah, so yeah, over to the next part. So we will hear about the Climate Innovation Lab from Tariq, a participant in the Climate Innovation Lab. So it was mentioned a bit before, it started last year and has been organized in different regions in the world. So yeah, I welcome Tariq up on stage to present himself shortly and tell about your experience.
Hi everyone. I am Tariq from Peshawar, Pakistan. I am an architect and university lecturer as well in Peshawar. So today is a great day, not only today, but every day here is a great day. Ideas are like a butterfly. It comes, sit on your head for a second, and it goes away. Like the poetry. Any poet here? It's amazing. Ideas are very much important, but you need to work on it. You need to freeze that moments. To develop, it needs mentorship, incubation, and guidance. Otherwise, it will go. You will see them flying, and it will sit on another flower like you. So work on your ideas. Not ideas, not the plural form, not ideas, but idea, one at a time. Last year, I participated in the Climate Innovation Lab, and to me it was amazing experience. I learned a lot. As I am an architect, and in 5 years architecture program, we are trained in beauty. We are taught how to make and create things beautiful. But in 5 years program, we seldomly taught about the business terminologies, the financial literacy, how to develop a startup and how to run a startup. And architecture, to me, have more role like in today. Buildings are responsible for the more carbon emission worldwide, so the architects need to focus more on the startups which can prevent these emissions by designing buildings. Our startup was basically related to the climate refugees shelter from the prefab materials in different spatial organization. That was the first time in Peshawar, like the architects were working beyond the traditional business models. Like typically, the architects wait for the clients to come and they design the stuff what the client want. They seldomly think on the environment, and the client also have no interest in the climatic and environmental issues. The startup was actually about the providing solutions regarding the climatic refugees. When I joined the CTCN, so I learned many startup and business terminologies, financial literacy, and one thing that I like the most is that the Excel file that was shared with us, we were working on that, and they, like all the group members, so it was not like a kind of just listening, but activity-based learning, right? If you people have the climatic startup idea, so do join the CTCN. You will learn a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tariq, for sharing about your experience in the program. So yeah, that was it for all the presentations we had, and now I hope that you have a lot of questions for us. So I want to welcome Eluar, Maria, if you want to sit on that side, and Tariq, and Lauren, and Bavesh. You can sit on these 3 chairs. If you want, you can move them closer. let me see. We have another slide. Yeah, this is just to finish off. So yeah, I open it up for questions. So yeah, I see we have a person there to be ready to hand out the microphone. So do you have any questions either to any one of the speakers, or if you want to have it directly to a certain speaker, you can also say that. Yeah, so I open it up to you. Does anyone have a question or also a comment, or if you want to share your own experience in youth engagement and climate technologies, then we would really much like to hear about that. So you can just raise your hand. Yeah.
Question for him. Sorry, I forgot the name, but
Eluar?
yeah, Eluar. Yeah, you spoke about identifying about 48 startups that there were more than that, but then 48 stood out the most, and then you highlighted some constraints that they faced. I just wanted to know that, on the other hand, what were some of the enablers that allowed them to stand out, and what were their ideas like in terms of scale? Were most of them scalable and like context specific, maybe to Africa or to Asia or to whatever region that they were developed in?
So I think it's important to, first of all, distinguish the two areas. So on the one side, all the barriers that I presented earlier, those were based on a lot of on-ground consultations all around the world. So those are general barriers that we could identify. They were not strictly linked to every single of those 48 youth organizations that I talked about. But on the other hand, context really matters, and those 48 youth organizations are not only, let's say, startups that are privately held, like a private limited company. They're also NGOs or cooperatives. And what they do really depends on the region that they're located in. So most of these 48 organizations were, as I said, in Asia Pacific or in Africa. And I would say that they mostly focused on off-grid energy solutions. Things like, off-grid solar panels for cooking, but also for irrigation system in agriculture. What were enablers for them to really be successful? I would say that on the one hand, it's their creativity and ingenuity to really see a problem and to fix it right away, or to try to fix it right away, and the support of the community that they've seen so far. Those are the two that I would highlight as enablers.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mine is not really a question. It's generally a comment on young people. You met the point that often young people are seen as vulnerable and we need to help them. But I think what you've taught us, as a mother of a young person around your age, is that, in fact, you're far more accountable. So you really must own the spaces you've created and continue to call us to account as adults. The youth movement, you must know this, has transformed the way we engage at the COP. But two, I think the area of innovation really is where you excel, and leadership in innovation as young people. So for the CTCN, something that we are truly passionate about, it's an exchange program, ideally an internship. But I really believe one of the reasons young people don't have opportunities is they're offered internships that are unpaid for, and they have to look for money. So I really believe in providing opportunities for young people that are funded. So we call you consultants, but please do not refer, it's the only way we can get you a paid internship. I believe one of the ways we can empower the young people to play a more active role is by providing platforms like this to share the kind of innovative knowledge. The app they've created for us is very useful. or to provide them the skilling. He's an architect who's already highly skilled, but the additional skilling that comes to augment his training is what gives him the edge. And for youth activists to follow global processes and support them, to have the opportunity to have an exchange program with an institution like ours, where we at least meet the minimum costs of your engagement. The paid internships is something outside the CTCN that I also lobby for, that big institutions must pay these young people when they come to give them an opportunity, because that locks you out. It's expensive, you know that, you've done it. So for us, really, you're more a resource, an opportunity for you to learn. So we hope this process is useful to you, but also to provide you the opportunity to network, leverage the time and the space you have to do even bigger and greater things. So it's really nice to see you, Maria and Eluar, and we hope we can continue this. And in Africa, we say it takes a village. Really, for purposes of the work we do on our gender and youth work, which we are so proud of and which you've had us get commendation for, she's the village chief. She's the one who heads our work, and so it's just such a wonderful experience. I just wanted to thank all of you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rose. And yeah, for you who don't know, so Rose is the director of the CTCN. So yeah, we're very glad that you can come also today and participate. And thank you for those words. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, you. And you first.
Hi, thank you everyone for that. Super educational.
If you want to take off your mask, I think we hear you a bit better.
That's fine. Is that better? Okay. So this is just a general question, I guess, because you're all experts and I'm not. So how would you approach a country with a low level of infrastructure when it comes to technology in the first place, who's also facing climate disasters, and really engage with the youth there to start building the skills needed to take their own climate technology action? This is from the perspective of myself. I work for the Embassy of Liberia in London, and we try and do a lot of outreach with the Liberian youth in Liberia, being able to bring Western knowledge to them. And I'm just wondering if you have any insights on how I can kind of maybe create a project in collaboration with the youth in Liberia based around this, and maybe even get in contact with some of you after, and start something really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. So first of all, we'd be happy to talk with you more about that. The CTCN does provide technical assistance on issues like this. But in areas where there is little infrastructure, there still are a lot of things that can be done. And a lot of young people have their mobile phones. And so using digital technologies is already really being used broadly to capture data and transmit messages of importance, especially in terms of like disaster preparedness. And we have a number of really good case examples from the work that we've done in various countries. So we'd be happy to talk with you about that. But it is indeed the issue that the technology has to fit the situation, and it has to be able to be adapted, and so that it does serve the needs of the people that it's trying to serve, as we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else here from the panelists who wants to say something?
Sorry, but I want to mention that something very important of the CTCN is that it takes into account a broader concept of technology. So it doesn't include only, hard technologies or very modern technologies, but it also acknowledges local communities' traditional knowledge, indigenous people's traditional knowledge, and that's a beautiful way as well to be inclusive and to foster already actions that are being developed in local communities and developing countries.
Thank you to you all. There was an education as well about the technology side of things. This question is more for Maria, but also open to anyone else. So you spoke a lot about kind of the gender lens when it comes to the actual network, but I'm wanting to ask a question of kind of pre and post, because it's known that kind of the confidence of maybe getting girls, women, and other groups into the technologies. As I'm from STEM, so I am a researcher in blue carbon, but I'm massively interested in community engagement because it's really important to educate. And yeah, so what kind of mechanisms are you maybe also looking at for that to give young women, girls, or any age the confidence? I think there is a lack of that sometimes to get in, but then also to keep them post, because there's a massive issue in the science community of women not staying, just moving on and kind of leaving. So you see this disproportionate gender roles in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, so Karina is actually the gender focal point of the CTCN, and I'll pass the question to her. But just to mention that I forgot to mention in my part, we're also we also developed a stakeholder analysis of different women rights-based organizations or strong gender-focused organizations, because the plan of the CTCN is as well to enhance connections, membership, knowledge partnerships, and also financial opportunities to keep, enhancing the work of the CTCN in gender mainstreaming. So that's something very important that the CTCN is engaged to do, and we mapped more than 20 organizations. So, and now Karina can answer the other part.
Yeah, and just briefly before I pass the floor to you, just to add that Maria, our youth gender consultant, and Karina, our gender focal point, and are developing a gender roster for the CTCN and the tech. And myself, as the representative of the women and gender constituencies, also supporting them on that. So they're doing a really amazing job. And of course, we also see many COP decisions highlighting the importance of gender and specifically on technology. So do look forward to further work of the CTCN on gender in the coming year as well.
Thanks for that. And so just to say that we see in the work that we're doing with the Gender Just Climate Solutions, we work with so many different organizations on the ground around the world who are doing amazing work already. And it's not always just on technology, it's things that are related and can support, like, for example, land reform. So we have some projects going on in Congo, for example, related to ensuring that women can have more access to land ownership rights. But all of these things, of course, go together. But what we see in talking with a lot of these leaders is that they can see on the ground the need to create spaces where girls can feel comfortable and encouraged to explore their interests in science and other STEM areas. And so I think it's a need worldwide and something that we're all sort of trying to figure out how we can support from our various points of view. And so I think for me, there are so many amazing examples of local initiatives that I've seen, and the question is sort of how to share information on those, and so others can build off of those ideas, and I think that's one of the ways that we can start to also make more progress in that area.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, do we have maybe have time for last question or comment from the audience? If someone wants to ask something to one of the panelists or say something, or otherwise, if we have one of you panelists who feel like, oh, I came with something I want to say before we finish this, a general thought, if something comes up, or you, yeah, question.
Ask to the University of Michigan students. So with the application that you developed, if you had if you wanted to develop a next step, what have you given some thought to what you might add to that application that would make it sort of have additional interest and value? I think it has a tremendous value already, and I know I've already been using it in the last couple of weeks quite often, but I'm just curious to see if now that you've sort of completed that process, what your thinking might be.
Thank you for the question. I think the next step should be to allow a user, such as you, to upload your own data. So that makes it more accessible. And the information on how the data is formatted is quite straightforward. It's just an Excel file. And yeah, so that would make it more accessible and more approachable. Yeah.
I'd also like to add that one of the things we've tossed around would be
creating a way for people who want to upload their data or even just look at what we have existing and use the technology priorities as a way to create market opportunities so that these technologies can be implemented and used in countries that might not have access right now to organizations that can provide these technologies.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. So yeah, now it's time to wrap up. So I will just, okay, first a big applause for everyone. And just like some final words, thank you so much for participating, everyone, for joining, you who are here at the Blue Zone at COP26, you who are joining us live, or maybe, I don't know if it's possible to see this afterwards. I hope you learned a lot of new things, and of course, as you know, or I just want to send with you that from a youth perspective, we think it's really important to include young people in climate technologies and the development, transfer, and implementation of climate technologies. And I really like the word, like what Eluar said, youth as change makers, like really see, like we do want to make a change. And if you're here in the audience, are active in Yango and want to engage, so we have this technology mechanism working group. So just reach out somehow to Yango or talk with me afterwards if you want to be involved. To you in the audience who are working in climate technology in some sense, in a company, academia, organization, we are here, like include young people more. We are here, support young people really financially, but also with knowledge and in other ways. And just like if you aren't convinced so far, but you should like include young people more. Like we bring in fresh perspectives. We're knowledgeable. Like many of us have studied at universities and so on. We're very engaged. We're innovative and very passionate about climate and for like sustainable future, like for a future where we can thrive on this beautiful planet which we have. So just to reach out to us youth or one of us here just afterwards. And that's everything from me. So thank you for participating.